Well, with a few days to presidential polls, the opposition parties continue to withdraw support from the consensus candidate Yashwant Sinha. In fact, the latest jibe which is coming in on the latest party to have dumped Yashwant Sinha is none other than Shiv Sena. In fact, the party MPs had urged Uddhav Thackeray to support NDA's presidential candidate. Uddhav Thackeray now has officially announced his backing for the former Jharkhand governor and NDA's tribal pick Droupadi Murmu. So who is gaining a clear lead over the opposition candidate Yashwant Sinha? Well, of course, it is none other than the tribal face. Now, Sena is not the only party in opposition to have pulled the rug from under Sinha's feet. Most others too have done it, citing various reasons, including citing her status as the first tribal woman to be nominated for the top position of the nation. Now, parties that have dumped Sinha are BJD, the JMM, the JDU, the YSRCP, the TDP, and in the latest, it is none other than Shiv Sena.
मतलब राष्ट्राध्यक्ष के लिए चुनाव होने जा रहा है। जिस तरीके से खबरें फैल रही है उसमें कोई सच्चाई नहीं है। जैसे कि मेरे ऊपर हमारे सांसद लोगों ने एक प्रेशर लाया है, कुछ लोगों ने प्रेशर टैक्टिक्स या टेक्निक या कुछ किया है, ऐसे कोई दबाव में मैं बात नहीं कर रहा हूं। बहुत सारे लोगों ने मुझे कहा कि पहली बार हमारी एक महिला भगिनी आदिवासी समाज से देश का जो सर्वोच्च पद है उसके ऊपर विराजमान होने जा रही है। तो मैंने भी यही सोचा कि सारे लोग अगर प्यार से मुझे कुछ कह रहे हैं तो उनकी भावनाओं का आदर करना चाहिए और उस भावना का आदर करते हुए आज मैं जाहिर करता हूं कि आने वाले इस राष्ट्रपति या राष्ट्राध्यक्ष चुनाव के लिए शिवसेना द्रौपदी जी को हमारा अपना समर्थन दे रही है।
Presidential elections are going to be held very shortly. In fact, right before that, you have several words which are doing the rounds as to what is the big murmur and the rumors. In fact, you just heard some of the reactions which are coming in where Uddhav Thackeray says others' feelings have been taken into consideration. However, political experts believe that the majority of the party MPs supporting may not be the only reason for Uddhav Thackeray to back NDA's candidate. This is also seen as a step to reconcile with the rebel Shinde camp as well as the BJP. In fact, Uddhav's move has also underlined just how the party is continuously drifting apart from the rest of the Aghadi partners, who are now mulling if continuing with Uddhav's party in the alliance may prove to be counterproductive.
Since after the fall of NDA government in Maharashtra, Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray is under tremendous pressure to resort to damage control. Uddhav keeps on succumbing to such pressures. Various occasions would come in near future. Then he would neither be here nor there. He should make a firm commitment that once he has come on the side of secular parties and fight BJP, then he must firmly remain there.
But with the support of Shiv Sena, now the deck seems to be cleared for Murmu, and she may hold the top position of the country very soon. Well, let me go across to our guests. We have joining us today on the show Tushar Gupta, who's the senior editor of Swarajya magazine. In fact, there's Abdul Basit joining us, the general spokesperson of the RJD. There's Yogi Gade, who's joining us, the leader of the Shiv Sena. Now, Mr. Yogi Gade, my first question will be to you. Of course, Uddhav Thackeray has today decided to turn his back on his Aghadi partners. Will he be able to save his own party, save his own prestige? Because now it seems that this is going to be the latest ideological clash within the Aghadi as well. Uddhav Thackeray, of course, stands to lose the most.
As you have seen earlier in the day, Honorable Uddhavji Thackeray has made it clear we are not succumbing to any pressure or anything. Even in the previous presidential elections, Shiv Sena had lent support to Pratibha Patil ji and Pranab ji Mukherjee, who were Congress candidates in that time. And there is also a request from party Shiv Seniks who are from the tribal community that this is the first woman tribal who is becoming the president of this country, and their community needs to be given a chance, and that is the reason they are giving backing to Droupadi Murmu ji, and that is clear. And Shiv Sena has taken such stances in the earlier cases also, as you have seen.
Well, actually, we haven't seen this kind of a stand where earlier you had the Shiv Sena taking one stand and then a complete U-turn being made in defiance to what the Aghadi partners have said. However, Abdul Basit, the fact that you have had several parties, the BJD, the JMM, of course JDU, many would say maybe expected, the YSRCP, the TDP, and the latest, of course, is Shiv Sena, one party after the other dumping the candidate of what many would have said the third front which may have come together. Is this a complete failure of the opposition parties to bring together an alternative to the NDA candidate?
मिसेस मुर्मू, अगर आप मिसेस मुर्मू को देखें और देश जिस दिशा में देश है, तो मिसेस मुर्मू बेस्ट पूरे इंडिया के लिए अच्छे राष्ट्रपति के तौर पर एक एडवाइस है सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट की। अब हमारा देश जिस बॉटम लेवल पे चला गया है, मिसेस मुर्मू अभी एक स्टैम्प राष्ट्रपति होंगी, तो ये स्टैम्प राष्ट्रपति के लिए उन्हें चुना गया है। इनके पता नहीं क्या क्या पॉलिसीज हैं फ्यूचर में सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट की, जो कि ये राष्ट्रपति से करवाना चाहते हैं। तो अगर वो
फर्स्ट ट्राइबल लीडर होंगी, शी विल बी अ वुमन फेस। आपको क्यों लगता है कि वो सिर्फ स्टैम्प, रबर स्टैम्प बन के रहेगी? आप किस बेसिस पे बोल रहे हैं कि वो रबर स्टैम्प बनेगी?
नहीं, शी इज ऑल्सो बस स्टैम्प के लिए इस्तेमाल करना चाहते हैं मोदी उन्हें, और बाकी उनका कोई देश में रोल नहीं होगा। रोल अगर होता तो यशवंत सिन्हा का होगा, मगर मैं आपको बताता हूँ
यशवंत सिन्हा को तो ऑपोजिशन पार्टीज ही सपोर्ट नहीं कर रही।
कश्मीर से लेकर कन्याकुमारी तक अपोज कर रहे हैं। अपोजिशन पार्टी सब एक है। हमारा भी अपना एक आइडियोलॉजी थी, जिसकी वजह से हमने इसको आप यशवंत सिन्हा जी कश्मीर में आज फारूक अब्दुल्ला जी के पास देखिए, वो इंटरनली सारे काम हो रहे हैं। हमारे पास मीडिया का बहुत बड़ा स्लोगन नहीं है विपक्ष के पास कि उसको ज्यादा दर्शाया जाए। अंदर सारी बात हो चुकी है। आने वाले समय में यशवंत सिन्हा ही राष्ट्रपति होंगे। ये कितना भी इसको एक्सटेंशन कर ले, मगर अंदर सबने मन बना लिया है कि
आपको क्यों लगता है यशवंत सिन्हा कुछ कर पाएंगे जहां द्रौपदी मुर्मू नहीं कर पाएंगी? द फर्स्ट ट्राइबल वुमन फेस हु इज बीइंग प्रोजेक्टेड एज द प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया।
यशवंत सिन्हा
आपको द्रौपदी मुर्मू के अगेंस्ट किया,
उनके
के खिलाफ क्यों बोल रहे हैं?
उनकी जो शिक्षा है, जो शिक्षाविद रहे, मैडम द्रौपदी मुर्मू के खिलाफ नहीं बोल रहे, आदिवासी हैं ठीक है, मगर ये है कि देश के राष्ट्रपति का चेहरा देश का राष्ट्रपति जैसा होना चाहिए। ये भारत देश है, हिंदुस्तान दुनिया के बड़े देशों में शुमार है। आप बिल्कुल ही आप रिप्रेजेंट क्या करेंगे वर्ल्ड को कि हमारे पास ये मुर्मू की क्वालिफिकेशन, उनकी एजुकेशन या कोई सारी चीजें कैलकुलेट करें। एक यशवंत सिन्हा के कंपैरेटिवली मुर्मू जो है वो बहुत नाकाबिल।
तो बस एजुकेशन क्वालिफिकेशन आपको चाहिए। तुषार गुप्ता, how would you like to react to that? Apparently the education qualification of Droupadi Murmu is not sufficient enough. Perhaps we should have the most educated person on India becoming the president.
Meghna, an RJD spokesperson talking about education, I'm unable to control my laughter. Can I ask them what qualification their party leaders had when they were ruling Bihar in the 90s? What qualification in terms of education the wife of Chief Minister Lalu Prasad Yadav had when she took over the helm of affairs of Bihar? And today they're talking about the qualification. I mean, this is appalling at so many levels. But on the larger question,
he's talking about Rabri Devi, as you well know. If you want, you can give a direct answer to that, Abdul Basit.
Listen, Mr. Gupta. My president is very qualified for India.
Hear him.
My president,
He says his president is very well qualified. He is, of course, talking about Lalu Prasad. He is silent when it comes to Rabri Devi. That's the point that you had raised. So complete your point, Tushar Gupta.
He is advocate also.
See, the larger question now is why can't the opposition find one credible candidate who can be the face of the presidential elections? They struggle. At the end of the day, Yashwant Sinha was a scapegoat they managed to find. A lot of people turned down the offer. The parties were unable to come together. TMC and Congress were struggling to have an understanding before Yashwant Sinha came to the scene. So the numbers do not really add up for the opposition. More or less, we know how the presidential election is going to end. So today you have the Shiv Sena, which is pretending to play the game of generosity, as they were doing when the government was falling, as they were doing when they were aligned with the NCP and the Congress in Maharashtra 2.5 years ago. So let's not pretend that the Shiv Sena is playing some game of generosity or going by the public sentiment. When, as Uddhav Thackeray, you end up losing 2/3 of your MLAs to one of the
We'll just come back to you. We'll just come back to you. Yogi Gare, would you like to respond to that? Uddhav Thackeray's change in heart, change in mind is nothing but desperation, as per Tushar Gupta.
Tushar Gupta is completely wrong, because if you have seen before, when the Shiv Sena was in NDA, they have supported Congress presidential candidate, and that time Balahsahebji Thackeray himself told that if a woman from Maharashtra is becoming the president of India, that is Pratibha Patil, so we will give our support to Pratibha Patil.
Isn't it true that Uddhav's own MLAs had urged him to support the NDA candidate?
Uddhavji Thackeray Sahib has cleared it in the press conference today that all the tribal party workers and a lot of people from the tribal community who are on various, who are MLAs, who are Jilla Parishad members, they all have urged, requested him to support a tribal leader becoming the president of India, and she definitely has what it takes to become the president, you know. So
it's got nothing to do with dumping the sinking ship. That seems to be Yashwant Sinha, because right now the numbers simply aren't adding up. No matter what Mr. Abdul Basit would want us to believe, the numbers simply aren't adding up. But thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us here on the Tosh, Tushar Gupta, Abdul Basit, as well as Yogi Gadhe. But with that, let's move on in the